Hey guys, this is a solutions video for homework 4. So from the last homework that we did, we got to solve for the particular solutions for the second order non-homogeneous differential equations. And then what I mean by non-homogeneous is that it's not equal to 0. Right, so here's a quick summary, which I also have it up on the PDF file of the homework. And let's go ahead and go over the problems for this week. All right, so the first problem was, it's given, if given this term, I believe this is the same format that we've been following around for, it's also expressed in the book. And our G of t is given because these are non-homogeneous differential equations. All right, so let's take a look at this one first. So part A, we have a mix of the exponential as well as trig equation formula. So let's talk about the exponential part first. So we have to take some guesses, and our guess of the particular solution for the sign, so I'm going over this part first. The sign is, it's going to be a cosine of 10t plus b sine of 10t. We did a similar problem, or we actually did a problem that only consisted of the trig as the g of t. All right, so that is our guess for the sign. So this was our guess for the sine 10t. Now we also have to incorporate the guess of the exponential part, which is e to the power of 7t. And this would just be e to the power of 7t. You can also see that if you review our last homework, this is what we had. Okay, so this is the guess for e of 7t. And what we did, I think that was the last problem of our homework, was we had to combine these two. What I mean by combining is that we had to multiply these two, and that would be our particular solution. Right, so that would be y, particular solution of t. This would be e of 7t times a cosine of 10t plus b sine of 10t. That's it, and this should enable you to solve for the values of a and b. One thing I want to note here is that this 16 didn't play any role. And going forward, if you have any sort of the constants multiplied, then we can simply ignore them. And even if you had them, you'll have it. It's not affected by the particular solution. So for A, this would be our answer to find the particular solution. This would be the form of that. Okay. Now let's go ahead and take a look at B. So B is again divided into two parts. So the first part is we see that second order equation, and part 2 is again, it's the trig. It's a cosine of t. Alright, so let's take a look at the first part. So this is in the form 9t squared minus 103t. Again, we can ignore the coefficients. The highest order of this equation is 2. So it's going to have the format of a t squared plus b t plus c. Again, this is the guess for the term 9t squared minus 103t. Alright, so now let's take a look at the cosine of t. So that's going to be the general form of the cosine. Guess for the cosine would be, we used up ABC, so I'm just going to continue to use using d cosine of t plus e sine of t. And this is the guess for the part where it says cosine of t. Alright, so and we just have to combine these two to find the particular solution. So y, particular solution in terms of t, is a t squared plus b t plus c, and d cosine of t plus e sine of t. You can kind of clean this up by doing, I guess, FOILs multiple times. That's going to give us a t a b t squared cosine of t plus b dt cosine of t plus cd cosine of t. And that's added by ae t squared sine of t plus b dt sine of t ce sine of t. I guess this can be cleaned out as, I can write this as a t squared plus bt plus c cosine of t plus dt squared plus e t plus f sine of t. Okay, so this is the general formula, or you guys can just keep it at this. Okay, so this is fine. If you wanted to go further, just clean things out, and that also gets to our last line. And so that's our particular solution for the second option B. All right, but I think this form is pretty easy to notice. And actually, we're going to use this format for our next question, part C, because if you notice, part C has all three parts combined. So it has the exponential part, as well as the linear, as well as the trig. Okay. So for part C, I'm going to guess for this part first, because that part is looks familiar to part B. Okay, so the guess for the red underlined part is following the form of what we just did in the previous part. It's going to be AT plus B cosine of 9t plus CT plus D sine of 9t. Again, this is the guess of the linear part times the cosine. So now we have this part remaining, and that's pretty easy. What do we do for part A? We simply ignored 16, so we're also going to ignore the coefficient, which is -1. And our guess of the exponential equation, as we have seen the previous week, is itself. Okay, so this is the guess for e to the power of -2t. Alright, so then I think we're almost done. How do we get to the particular solution? We just need to multiply these two guesses. So it's going to be e -2t times everything that we have up here. So at plus b cosine of 9t plus ct plus d sine of 9t. Alright, so this is the particular solution for part C. Alright, so before we go on to the next problem, so number 1 is more of a review of what we did last class. So this concept is a little new, and I think our book kind of showed the proof of this, but I just wanted to summarize before we do the further problems. So let's say that we have, alright, so let's write our general equation. So I think we've been using this form of q of t, let's say this is g of t. So this was our general equation that we've been using. Let's say we have two of these. Actually, in fact, these are the same, and let's say that they have another equation. Since these are non-homogeneous, let's say this was g of 1, g of 2. So all that's different is the right-hand side of our equation. Okay, so the first equation, the left-hand side is identical, but then it's an equation that has two solutions. So one of the solutions is g1 of t, and we're going to call the second solution as g2 of t. So from here, from the first equation, we can find the particular solution, and we're going to call it, we used to call it this, but to differentiate these two, we're just going to call it as particulars 1, and this would be particular solution P2. Okay, so given that we have these two equations, what happens is that if we have the same thing, we have ty prime q ty, if we have these two solutions added, g1 of t plus g2 of t, and again, our book does a pretty good job explaining or showing the proof of this, then the particular solution for this would be, it's pretty intuitive, it would be added to t. Alright, so given this, let's go ahead and solve the next problems. So, if you take a look at the second problem, we're given this, and this should look somewhat familiar. And that's because if you go back to our previous homework, just before our exam, we covered all of these parts. So we had this, the left-hand side was y double prime minus 4, y prime minus 12y, which we have here's under problems 1. Actually, all of our problems had it. And if you take a look at the right-hand side, we have 3. So this is part 1, and we also have the sine of 2t and all of that. We all did those problems, so this was part 1, and we also did sine 2, and we also did this. So if you go back to your homework 12, we have all of these particular solutions found. And according to our rule, as long as it's found, all we have to do is we just need to add those particular solutions. And that would be the particular solution for the whole problem of 2. So for number 2, we don't need to do anything unless you have misplaced the homework. Then in that case, you would have to solve for the particular solutions for, again, 3 times. But in this case, we have the answers stored, and all we have to do is just going to be particular solution of problem 1 of t plus y particular solution of problem 3 of t plus y particular solution of problem 5 of t. That was the problems 1, 3, and 5. Okay. So if we write it out, the particular solution for this entire problem is going to be negative 3 over 7 e to the power of 5t plus 1 over 40 cosine of 2t, negative 1 over 20 sine of 2t, and lastly is 1 over 36 3t plus 1 e to the power of 4t. Okay, so this is the solution for number 2.